It's so late.
You have the date?
Um,
It's usually just done before a board meeting, right?
yes, yeah.
So I would just say we can ask, what's the preference?
What's your comment?
Excellent. It's much better now that you brought me that creamer second half.
Glad to be of service.
Yeah, you're the best.
Ready?
Yep.
We'll call the order of the Benton County Board. Please join me in pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Beth.
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Heinen?
Here.
Commissioner Kapinski?
Here.
Commissioner Pop?
Here.
Thank you. Anything to add to the agenda, Monty?
Mr. Chair, two changes. The first is consider the extension committee appointments. If we could make that as the third item under administrator at 9:10.
Okay.
Second change is the 9:25 Johanna item, please, let's pull that. I understand that instead, Human Services would like to give you a brief update on the Human Services Board. And again, you can amend that agenda when you get to it.
To the Human Services Board. Okay.
Sir, yes, sir. So those are the two changes we have.
Okay.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
It's all right.
Sorry.
Is there anything anything for the commissioners to add, or?
Mr. Chair, I would like to put a conversation in there about mediation class.
Do you want that under Commissioner concerns?
We could do that underneath Commissioner concerns.
Okay, let's do that under Commissioner concerns.
It was a mediation request.
Yeah, mediation class.
Class. Anything else to add or change? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Now I'll move to approve the.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. County board meetings are broadcasted live and video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that viewers can hear you. The county board observes Robert's Rules of Order for its meetings, so please obtain the board chair consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or public hearings. However, public comment on other agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or turn your cell phones to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum. Anybody out there? Doesn't look like it. Okay, consent item. Got consent item 1 through 8. Anybody want one of them pulled?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull item 6, please.
Item 6, okay. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of items 1 through 5, 7, and 8.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second, 1 through 5, 7, and 8. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Number 6, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner Heinen. Just wanted to briefly discuss item 6 in regards to the solid waste management plan. I did talk to Land Services this morning and to Sierra, and just want to double check. Right now, the Tri-County Solid Waste Commission is in a discussion with Pope Douglas in regards to our ongoing contract, and there's been issues there that are not resolved yet. And so I would like to see that take place before we approve our solid waste plan. Did double check again with Roxanne and Sierra, and at this point, there'd be no effect on moving forward until, I believe, the end of February for grant dollars, et cetera. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to table item 6 until for sure the first meeting in February, possibly the second.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any time frame on this, Sierra?
So I just talked to the MPCA, and they said funds don't come out until April, actually. So the worst that would happen is they just withhold the funds until we approve the plan.
Okay,
And Mr. Chair, if I could, and Commissioner Pop, is, our hope is that we have this resolved with Tri-County in the next month.
Right.
Certainly would want to bring it back and get it adopted once that happens, but I'm not comfortable doing that yet.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a meeting in February.
And I haven't seen that date if it's set yet, but, okay.
okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question to table it until next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roxanne Ackman, Land Service Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. I've got everything stapled together here. I do have one additional item to give you. I accidentally printed it off on big sheets, so
Okay.
instead of recycling and reprinting, you're getting big sheets.
I'm assuming it's easier to read now?
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, even though I don't like paper.
You don't need your glasses.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Thank you.
Man, I love this echo effect.
Okay. Just to quickly go over a few things. Oh, and I've got the wrong report up here now. Okay, so generally in January, I bring forward the previous year's building permits and subdivision items. So what you see here is we did have in 2021, we did see a little bit of a decrease in the number of home permits, accessory units, additions. Ag buildings was actually up, and general building permits was up significantly, and that's due to some hail damage that went through. So we saw a lot of re-roofing, re-siding permits come in for that. And then your CUP, IUP, relatively close to the same. Variances down a little bit, and then administrative subdivisions were up. And then I provide you with two separate graphs. One is the fluctuation of permits from 2017 to 2021, and then the average permit value by year. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Relatively close on the house values. Accessory dwellings were up. Additions were down, and then ag buildings were up. And I think we all kind of saw that in the construction business, that the prices had gone up. So it was kind of actually a little bit interesting to see that the 2020 and 2021 values for homes remained fairly similar. So boundary line adjustments, we had 11 of those. Administrative subdivisions, 28, and those are the 10+ acres. Simple plats, we had 16 of those, with 4 that missed the 2021 deadline, and then 8 minor subdivisions. We probably doubled those from 2020. We had a lot of subdivisions that happened over 2021. Which kind of brings me into the next topic of, well, it's number 2 on the other topics on the report here, but the plat process and the end of year rush. We saw 10 plats come in at the end of this year, which put a huge amount of pressure on not only my office, but these are all the offices that have to review and sign these, including my office, the county engineer's office, the county surveyor, county attorney, auditor treasurer, and recorder's office. All have to see these plats once they come in. And to have them coming in at, number one, at Christmas time, and then within that last 2 weeks of the year, really put a big burden on all of these offices. And the reason that they try to get those recorded before the end of the year is because then they don't have to pay the next year's property taxes, because you have to pay the property taxes in full for that year if you're going to be recording a plat. So I've started, based on discussions with all of the offices, I've just started drafting a policy that I would like to bring forward, and that policy would basically state that plats would need to be submitted 2 weeks the Mylars, which is the part that we signed, would need to be submitted a minimum of 2 weeks prior to the end of the year. It may have even been sooner than that, but we've got to take the pressure off of everyone. Plats are not the only item that we have to deal with at the end of the year, and so we need to find some sort of a process that works better. And I think placing a deadline on that also helps a lot of our surveyors. When I had mentioned this to our surveyors, they said, please do, because as long as the county's accepting plats, they have the pressure to get them done and get them in. So if we put a deadline, it also helps them. It's not that we're trying to hold off on development. It's just we need time to review these. So I'm looking at bringing a policy forward that would just place a deadline at the end of the year for anyone thinking that they're going to have that plat recorded before the end of the year. Any questions on planning and zoning items?
Mr. Chair, just a quick one, Roxanne. The 11 boundary line adjustments, are those over and above what was finished on the lake?
Yeah, that doesn't even include the lake.
None of them, okay. Thank you.
Nope. Then we have geo permits. We are finally active with that. The public can go online. We have not done any sort of a blast to let the public know that this is available, just because I wanted to get our arms around it, make sure that things were functioning properly, that our credit cards were functioning properly. But I think we can certainly move forward with some sort of a news blast that states that you can go online now, you can submit your building permits and your land use permits online. It seems to be working well. The credit cards seem to be working well, and if an issue comes up, we deal with it at that time, but it seems to be working fairly well right now.
Have you had any response from the public about how it's going?
No, and I might have to ask Sean and Dan if they've received anything, but it's a slow time of year, which was ideal actually for releasing this. So we didn't get in 45 permits in one day and go, oh shoot, something's wrong with 40 of them. So it's, we've had to kind of tweak things as they come in. We learn where there's issues, what seems to be working. So, yeah.
Good.
Okay. And then King's Inn, I wanted to just give a brief update on that. To be completely honest, that's been a little bit put on the back burner for us just because it really is the property owner's responsibility to clean that up. Now that we've gotten past the rush of the end of the year, Michelle and I will be working on that agreement. The property owner has stated that he would like to move forward with an agreement with the county to have that cleaned up. So once we get that agreement drafted, it will need to go to the property owner's attorney so that they can review that, make sure that they're in agreement before it comes forward to the board. And then we'll continue moving forward in that respect. But again, it's quite a process.
So how long will you think this process is gonna take before we can actually start to clean up? Are we looking into spring already?
I would guess spring. I'm not sure where Michelle is at drafting that. I know recently she had said she was gonna start digging into it.
Because when spring starts coming, a lot of people start fishing over there on that side, you know, so.
Yep, yep,
So the sooner the better if possible.
yeah. Yep, we're trying to get that done. And then the last item that I provided you is from the recorder's office. I just thought it was some really nice information, annual information, all the way back from 2019 on the number of documents that are recorded. Gives you a good idea of what's recorded electronically versus in office. I don't have any fun stats for the assessor's office just yet. I don't know that those are super fun if you talk about increases. So I'll have information hopefully soon. But this is what I had kind of last minute to bring forward from the recorder's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Roxanne. Next, Monty, consider resolution authorizing a purchase agreement for parcels within the city of Foley for future county needs.
So this again covers the property across the street from us, the old Foley High School site. I collaborated with Michelle on this resolution. The resolution that appears in the packet reflected some final changes that she made. I'd like to point out a couple significant provisions of the resolution. And these are issues, of course, we've discussed quite extensively up to this point. Again, a couple of significant considerations or conditions of a final purchase. The first would be rezoning a property. It's currently a residential zoning, rezoning to a business district. I plan to have the rezoning application submitted to the city this week. So I expect to walk that over here either today or tomorrow to Sarah at the city and get that going. The second big condition was the possible discovery of any contaminated soils on this site. I confirmed Friday with Brown Intertech that they have started the phase one. Although I'm sorry, I do not have a expected completion date for you. They at least have begun the phase one process. So those are two significant conditions in this resolution. This tends to essentially follows a process that you use when the Eisenschenk pit was acquired to adopt a resolution, and once closing occurs, the administrator then would be able to execute all the documents at closing. Of course, one of the biggest parts is this reflects the agreed to offer price with the owner, Mr. Sabanya. So that's basically it, Mr. Chair, in the resolution. And by the way, the city of Foley, if my application is acceptable to the city, it will be on the February 14th City of Foley Planning Commission meeting, which I will attend. Okay.
Any questions on that?
Mr. Chair, I was wondering, is the city of Foley willing to rezone that before the pollution control in Brown Intertech has?
I guess if the city approves it, most likely that will probably occur before Brown is done, but I'm not sure. Again, I did not get a date from Brown of when the phase one would be done. Or of course, the board needs to make a decision, do you want to move forward with the phase two? Again, I'm not really sure how those events will coincide.
I would assume that they would probably put contingency on that.
Well, yeah, I just was wondering if they'd even want to, move forward with it till it's all studied, all done. Guess it's their decision,
Commissioner Johnson?
Mr. Chair, I would agree with Commissioner Heinen. I would hope that they'd condition it and say, well,
Right.
let's.
If this and this don't happen, then.
Right, at least it's in place then.
Yep.
You're kind of starting
Yeah.
over
that's
late.
From my experience working on the city, that's what we would have done, was contingency on that.
Mr. Chair, Monty, do you know if the city's planning commission is the final authority on that, or city council need to approve? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a
Okay.
good question. Have they delegated to the planning commission? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'll ask Sarah and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Most of the time at the city level, they're just an advisory board.
I know, okay, in asking her about the process, she never mentioned this would need to go to the council though. So, but I'll confirm for you to be sure. You bet.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the resolution as presented by the county administrator.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? With that, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 No? I'm sorry. I have a moment here. All those in favor said aye. That was all five of us, correct?
Yep.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little tough to hear with the plexiglass
I-
back.
I'm
Bounces
getting
around.
this echo here and it's
Oh,
like,
really?
wow.
Get some weird stuff. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty.
Okay, next one, Monty.
Sure. Well, at your first meeting in January, there were a few issues that were unresolved regarding appointments to boards and commissions. I remember three: the Fair Board, the second was the East Central Regional Juvenile Center Advisory Board, and then there was a little discussion about the Labor Negotiating Committee. So, I believe, Commissioner Heinen, you were gonna speak with Mary Otsby. What
That
have
is-
you discovered then about the Fair Board?
So the Fair Board has not acted yet
Yeah.
in their bylaws if they're going to, if they want a Benton County commissioner on it. They do want it, but it's not in their bylaws yet.
Okay.
And they have a board meeting tonight, and I don't know what they're gonna determine. So at this point in time, we can leave this, we can table this too today.
So just hold off on this one for now?
We,
Okay.
we can, yeah. Just keep in mind, everybody, that they do want, a commissioner on there. It's just a matter of getting it in their bylaws. So I would just table this one at
Sounds
this
good.
time to the next meeting.
Moving on, and the second one is, and it's described on page 3 of this handout. This is the Lino Lakes facility, the juvenile facility down in Lino Lakes. I did get additional information from the folks there. So this joint powers agreement, which the county board agreed to, requires 2 county board members to sit on an advisory board. That advisory board meets first Thursdays in February, June, and October at 12:30. Meetings last approximately 1 hour, and they're currently all virtual. So it looks like, again, 3 meetings they're scheduled this year, February, June, and October. And as I noted in the description, again, it is an advisory body, advises the Anoka County on, it says, operational matters, the daily per diem charged to member counties, the budget, and so on. And again, it requires 2 county board members appointed. So, are we inclined at this point to identify 2 board members who wish to serve?
Do you have any recommendations, Monty?
No, sir, I don't. I know we've had some discussion about trying to align functions. So in other words, if we have folks that tend to kind of be on more criminal justice related things, then perhaps that would make sense for those folks to also be on this group to try and align functions a bit in your appointments. I do believe Commissioner Heinen and Commissioner Schlangen are on our criminal justice committee. So perhaps those would be appropriate folks to serve on this one. I know from time to time the Lionel Lakes facility does come up as a subject in criminal justice, and obviously seems relevant, so.
We speak about this a lot, actually. We've been speaking about this in our meetings,
Okay.
with Deb and them, so.
Is that acceptable to Commissioner Heinen and Commissioner Schlangen?
I'm willing to be on it.
Mr. Chair, The one thing I will advise is maybe we might have to look at this a little bit further because a lot of the things that are coming up in all these correction sites is actually on the emergency management side.
Correct.
And I'm on the emergency management.
And I thought about that too, just last night, and it almost makes sense that we kind of split it, one from one board, one from another board to sit on that, because we cross over a lot of it in human services.
And I'm just saying, maybe if those are the two that are on it, we go with it, but something might have to change in the future. Because I know that, mental health is a huge part of emergency management, and that's our number one topic in all emergency management is the mental health in jails and juveniles, so.
I think if we're gonna start making changes, we start making changes now instead of waiting,
Okay.
would be my suggestion anyway.
I guess, I don't have a lot of experience on that, so I would pretty much let it up to,
Yeah, I've been involved with this for over 3 years already, so, on both ends.
Yep. Yeah, you were the emergency management chair.
Correct, yep. So it does tie hand in hand. So the next question is, what do we want to do?
I could do this board, but if you want Jared to do it, that would.
I guess I'm looking for more about what makes sense,
Correct.
then.
So,
then-
Mr. Chair, if I understand you correctly, so his emergency background point of it, and you're on the other side of it.
Correct.
You're covering two areas then with it.
That is correct, yep.
Okay.
And the emergency from AMC, all of those panels, that's our number one objective or number one concern the last year
Is
was.
it appropriate to have an alternate then?
We could have an alternate too.
There we go.
Yeah,
Mr. Schlangen could be the
could be the
alternate?
alternate. We could do it that way.
Yep.
Sure.
So we'll put Commissioner Kapinski and myself, and then Commissioner Schlangen as an alternate.
Okay.
You need a motion for that?
Yeah, let's finish up your discussion about labor negotiating committee and then perhaps then a motion on any and all changes.
Okay.
So let's see, I believe labor negotiating committee is on page 9, and now that consists, I believe, of Commissioner Pop, Commissioner Hein. I just think, I recall there's a desire for some additional discussion on this appointment. So I guess I'll defer to you all. Are you comfortable with the current assignments? Do you wish to make any changes?
I'm fine with the assignment from me, and I guess Commissioner Heinen raised a little bit of question.
I've already took care of my issues in September,
All right.
so it's really up to the board.
So that
If
means
they
you're
want.
available?
That means I'm available, yeah.
Mr. Chair, Monty, you said there's a significant amount of time to be invested this year.
Absolutely right. With negotiating all of our 8 collective bargaining agreements this fall into the winter of '23, there'll be a substantial time commitment.
Have you in the past typically?
I
had an
can't
alternate?
understate that. It is a substantial
So
commitment. Yeah.
what we normally do, we don't have an alternate unless one of them cannot
Yeah,
proceed.
we've never had alternates on it, and it's really tough for an alternate to jump in.
Yeah.
Because to get up to speed on all the issues, it would be really a lot to ask of an alternate to jump in on that issue. We've never had alternates on this.
Yeah, I probably agree with Monty, plus the fact that if one of us can't make it, we just have to reschedule.
Correct.
That's the way I think it's been in the past.
Yeah, and we always do our best to make sure that everybody can be there. Unless something comes up suddenly last minute, we really try and make sure everyone can be there.
Mr. Chair, to me, that makes sense to keep it that way. I just think we need to keep on our radar that we've got to get somebody else at some point in the loop, because, if we all of a sudden have 2 different people
Right.
with 0 experience on it.
Well, we don't have a lot of experience now,
Well, yeah, but I mean, you
mean,
have more than the rest of us.
we
do.
went through some of the class and comp, and I went through some with the library.
Yep.
So that's the experience that,
And maybe it's next year where we bring in a new commissioner onto
yeah.
that spot.
And I was thinking about that, and I would totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
That we probably won't be able to next year, because I think this is probably gonna go into '23 by the time we
Okay.
get everything done.
I've never seen contracts get settled in the year in which they expire. They always extend into the next year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is there a way that we, an alternate is tough, but is there a way that we keep a third person just in case, cause I know both are up for election? Is there a way of keeping a third one in the loop on what's going on?
Could a third one attend the meetings or not?
No, yeah, it'd be a quorum,
Okay.
so we couldn't do that, sorry. Yeah.
What about virtually?
Not even
Technically,
that.
you're not there.
I know better than that.
Unfortunately, I think this is something that we would have to address
Yeah.
if it happens, and at that point in time, if one of us cannot proceed any further,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then Monty would have to bring that person in or bring that person in and fill them in.
Yeah, I know between Johanna and I, we always keep extensive notes of every negotiating session, which of course we can share with a successor board member, so we would be able to get that person up to speed pretty quickly.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And another thing to consider is, no offense to anybody here, but we just assume that the two people that are on the broadband are gonna be very busy this fall too. So we took that into consideration too when thinking about this.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else, Monty?
Nope, I think that's it. So if with no other changes, if you could just make a motion, looks like the only change we've made now is the East Central. Commissioner Heinen, Commissioner Kapinski with Commissioner Schlangen as alternate. So perhaps you could make a motion on that one and now wrap that issue up.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And,
Thank you, Monty.
Beth will provide the folks at East Central with your contact information and email addresses and so on. Last
Okay.
one is, I received this request Friday from Lori Vici from Regional Extension Director regarding some appointments that are expiring. And she requests that you consider reappointing these folks to the Extension Committee. Julie Johnson, District 2, Linda Tennyson, and Rick Gilbertson. Apparently these folks are willing to serve, continue serving on the Extension Committee. So if you're inclined, if you could make, and I regret that I didn't get to this to you earlier. It came to me Friday and Lori said she needed you to act on this today. So,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Pop.
So there's a little bit of a problem here with who represents which district. Julie Johnson actually represents District 5
okay,
because, and she does a great job. She got a lot of experience. She used to be on the extension committee down, when they had that. She was the treasurer at one time. But she is not my rep. She is District 5's rep.
Okay.
Natalie Schmidt is my rep, and I appointed her last year at this time. I know Julie is, at the last meeting, she's willing to serve another.
is that Watab Township member Julie Johnson?
Yes.
Okay,
And so, previous commissioner couldn't find anybody that was willing to
Okay.
serve, so went and got Julie, and she's a great addition to that committee.
oh, I'm sure she is. I should mention is that when I got the email from Folks Extension, they actually had District 5. I thought it was a mistake, as I saw a Rice address.
Yeah.
So I changed it to District 2, so they had it right.
Okay.
So just, I want to give them credit, and I thought they just made a mistake. I thought,
Okay.
this is,
Yeah.
just for the record,
So who made the mistake, Monty?
I did.
One more time.
Again, I did.
Let's have that one more done here.
There was no time for me to check.
That's reflected twice in the
And they
minutes.
also note that, again, they're looking for an appointee from District 4, Commissioner Kapinski's district. So,
Yeah.
that must be, is that vacant now?
It must be. Well, I think
must.
somebody retired off, termed off.
Okay.
You term off after three-year terms, I
After 9
believe.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of people I can reach out to.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, if you could let me know, then I'll pass it along to those folks, or we can have it on a future agenda. So for now, perhaps if you're inclined, you could, by motion, appoint these three folks that are identified here, with the correction that Julie Johnson represents district.
Fine. And we had conversation at the last extension meeting about if they're willing to serve in that, and typically it's just been reappointed. as long as they're not termed out.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint the Benton County Extension Committee, Julie Johnson from District 5, Linda Tennyson from District 3, and Rick Gilbertson, an at-large member.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Monty. So at this time, we will turn it over to the Human Services Board Chair.
Monty, are we tied to a timeline on our clock? We're 3 minutes early.
We are,
Yeah.
it's its
Oh,
own-
I apologize for that.
It's its own public entity and has to follow open meeting law too,
That-
so.
That hasn't happened in a year, I know that.
Sorry for, moving along so quickly there, Commissioner Pop.
Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate to move Commissioner Kapinski's mediation class request at the?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
I'm sorry, what are we skipping towards?
Would it be appropriate to do the mediation request from Commissioner Kapinski?
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, during AMC and everything like that over the last year, AMC's been coming out with this mediation class through AMC and then League of Minnesota Cities. And they put it out to commissioners. And I believe there's 24 commissioners that are gonna go through this course. I in turn was going to pay for it, but I was gonna bring it in front of the board and see if this is any, it's a wide mix, whether the county pays for it, individuals pay for it, but it's a mediation course, it's 40 hours, and you're actually certified by the Minnesota Supreme Court for mediation. And I thought,
And the cost?
I thought $500 or $600.
Okay.
But it definitely with what goes on in any business or county or anything like that, I think it comes into be a pretty handy deal. So either way, I'm gonna do it. I just I'd bring it up for discussion.
Monty, in the past, I'm sure we've paid for some of this stuff for training.
I don't recall anything specifically like this. I think if the board concludes it's relevant, it's appropriate, it's beneficial, then I think it certainly be appropriate for the board to agree to fund it. And I know, for example, when board members go like the AMC conferences and all those things, that comes out of the commissioner budget and we
Yep.
budget for that. If this is outside that, we do have a central training budget where I think that could accommodate this cost, sure, yeah. And when, for example, county employees go to training, it's kind of a county-wide nature, that's where that comes from out of that budget, like this leadership training that people are going to.
Correct, yep. Yep, and that'll be coming up too this spring, actually, AMC Leadership Conference training.
Yeah. So anything that board members go to year in and year out, we make sure that's budgeted for in the commissioner budget. So for example, the registration, any hotels, travel expenses, that's anything we kind of know about, that's budgeted for.
I think the original cost was actually gonna be like $1,000, and now that the trainer moved positions to League of Minnesota, it actually saved all the commissioners' money, so.
Mr. Chair. Well, I think that's pretty good money well spent as we move forward with negotiations. I'm hoping that we can convince Mr. Commissioner Kapinski to be here for some time and maybe he can use that training in the future.
I think it would be very beneficial.
I do too.
And I think so I'll make that motion that Commissioner Kapinski gets reimbursed or we pay for this cost out of whatever Monty said it should come out of.
Yeah, we have a central training budget.
A central training budget, I think.
And I'll second that. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Thank you for bringing this up, Commissioner Kapinski. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I'll
carries.
abstain.
Yep. Commissioner Kapinski abstained, Beth. At this point in time, I will turn it over to the Human Services Board Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll call our Human Services Board to order. Is there any additional items to the agenda? Sandy's here instead of Bob today?
Right, and I have
All right.
nothing.
Nothing, okay.
We're
thank you.
gonna add although we're going to amend the agenda to include an update by Jacqueline, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
On a COVID update and an essential care update, as I recall correctly.
Okay.
Yep, she's nodding her head, yeah.
And maybe we'll move that behind the acceptance of the Health Partners Grant. That work out okay? All right.
All right, we'll move for approval of our agenda then as presented with that change. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll motion.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda with the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Consent agenda, there are 2 items on there. Any of the commissioners want anything pulled? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Sandy?
The only thing I have for the agenda is we did receive a $10,000 grant award from Health Partners. It was pretty wide open. We could use it towards anything we saw was a community need in our area. So we're recommending that we accept that grant and use it towards the homeless outreach position.
Okay. Any questions for Sandy? It's pretty straightforward.
I'll move approval of accepting the Health Partners grant for $10,000.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept that grant. Any other questions for Sandy? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. We'll move on to a report from Jacqueline on COVID update.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
Jacqueline, did you want me to share screen with you? Yep.
That would be great, thank you.
Let's see if we can make that
Good morning,
happen.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
I am making you the presenter. There you go. There you go. Yes, I should have this thing back on.
All right, and can you see my screen?
Can.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and get started, and yes, again, today I will do a update here on our COVID-19 situation within our community and also provide some information provided by Center Care. So as of this week, all of this data is current as of Friday, when I prepared this report. So on Friday, we had 533 active cases. This was an increase of 173 cases since my update last week. We are now at 10,993 total cases. This is also an increase of 389 new cases. We have currently in total 512 total hospitalizations, which is an increase of 12 hospitalizations since the update last week. 92 total cases in ICU, an increase of 1 from the prior report last week. And then 125 total deaths, which is consistent with what the report was last week. And, you know, just kind of as a recall, deaths are a lagging number as individuals get sicker in their disease progression as well. So in summary, we've added 453 new cases from January 11th, which was the date of the last update, to when I pulled the numbers end of day on Friday. So I imagine this is higher once we'll have the numbers prepared for today. On the CDC metrics, we're at a level of high community transmission. We have a case rate that is at 1,386.68 per 100,000. This has doubled since last week's report. So that's 2.4 times higher as a case rate per 100,000 than what we were at last week when I provided a report. At last week, we were, I believe, 5.8 times higher. Now we are, again, like I said, at 1,386.68. And our test positivity rate for our county and the community is at 24.69. And this is also an increase from last week. And given it's probably likely much higher because it doesn't account for those at-home test kits, as those are not reported to the CDC. Here's a look at our COVID-19 case count per week at our youth numbers. The green line is those 0 to 4 years old. The purple line is 5 to 11-year-olds. The yellow line is 12 to 17-year-olds, and the red line is the total. Those white boxes, those indicate the current week in comparison to the same week a year prior. I'd like to draw your eyes here to the right of the screen. Here's where we're currently at. And then just as a visual, here's a line in place for the total number of cases here for the current week in 2022. And then in comparison, here we were a year ago in 2021. So here's a snapshot of our adult COVID-19 case counts per week. That blue line is 18 to 34-year-olds. The yellow is 35 to 49-year-olds. The green is 50 to 64-year-olds. And the purple is 65 and older. That red line is the total number of individuals. And then again, these white boxes are indicating the current week in comparison to the same week the year prior. And then for that visual again, so here's where we're at currently for 2022 for adult total case counts. And then here we were a year ago in 2021 for the same week. Look at our vaccination rate for the county. In comparison to a week ago, we've seen an increase in all of our age groups, except for that age group of 65 and older. That remained consistent here at 82.8%. For the total population, our vaccination rate in Benton County for those receiving at least one dose is at 51.9%. In a local health system situation update, CentraCare has reported seeing an increase in the testing positivity rate. The rate is currently at 32.4%. This is the rate that tells us of all the people who were tested, the percentage of tests that come back positive. This is a test positivity rate increase of roughly 5% since the last update. CentraCare is reporting they're continuing to see increases in both statewide hospitalization and ICU hospitalization. In one number, the greater Minnesota hospitalizations increased 5.3% from the previous day, Tuesday, and ICU cases increased 15.7%. CentraCare also reported that they've instituted increased visitor restrictions and that they'll be focusing their testing efforts to situations that are most impactful in those healthcare decision-making and patient care situations. And then lastly, I'd just like to recap today with some current recommendations. Again, we're still encouraging that everyone 5 years and older should receive their COVID-19 vaccine and receive a booster dose when eligible, wearing a well-fitting medical-grade mask in indoor settings, getting tested if you have symptoms of COVID-19 or if you've been exposed or have traveled, stay home when sick, even if it is just that cold, washing hands frequently, avoiding those large crowds, and then taking extra care, especially if you have someone in your household or if you yourself have medical conditions that put you at a higher risk of severe illness from COVID-19. And then this is just a look at the current resources for finding a vaccine or for a test. If anybody is looking for a test or for a COVID-19 vaccine, you can view these links here. You can search Find My COVID Vaccine or Find My Test, and those links will pull up from the Minnesota Department of Health. Benton County Public Health also has a vaccine clinic today at Gustavus Adolphus Church this afternoon, this evening, and then also on Thursday at the Government Center, and that information is on our public health website. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Members, any questions?
Mr. Chair. Jacqueline, as we're seeing this rise quickly, do you think we're going to hit the top of it sooner than later? Because CentraCare was saying 2 to 6 weeks. I'm hearing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd say, we're seeing the increases, as it's been projected. I'd say we're on track. I don't know that we'll hit them at the peak higher, but it's something we're definitely continuing to watch.
Okay, because I know the nursing homes right now are getting a spike too of COVID now too. So I've been hearing that in my district.
Yeah, we're seeing, a lot of community transmission. We're hearing that, from our schools, we're hearing that from our hospital systems, and then, just looking at our case counts, that we're 2.4 times higher in our case rate per 100,000 this week. And so we're definitely seeing community spread.
All right, members, any other questions? Jacqueline, maybe, I'm not sure about the other members, but would you be willing to send out your presentation to us on the emails? That would be great. It'd be nice to reference back to.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I'll send you a packet. That includes a written situation report from CentraCare as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Jacqueline, I got
go
some
ahead.
questions too. Do you know if they're using any vitamin C, zinc, D3, and quercetin after a diagnosis or prophylactically?
I'm not aware. I could bring that question forward to CentraCare.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thanks, Jacqueline. Commissioner Heinen, I know you have some additional questions for Sandy.
Yes, I do, Sandy. So I remember we applied for a grant for the outreach program for the homelessness. Did we ever receive that?
We did not get it.
We did not get that, huh? So what are we doing moving forward? Just
Looking for grants, so that's
Grants.
what we used the 10,000 for, but it would be tax dollar at this point.
it will be, huh?
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Any other questions, members? All right, we're going to adjourn our Human Services Board. I'll turn it back over to the County Board Chair.
Okay, we'll reconvene our regular board meeting. Commissioner meeting updates. Who would like to start?
Thanks, Sandy. Thank you. I can start. That's okay?
Go ahead,
I just
sir.
had two planning commission, last week. If you recall, we had, some discussion about a revocation of a conditional use permit. That has since been dismissed. The property owner was able to come back into appliance, so it's nice to be able to dismiss the revocation procedures. We also had a conditional use permit for alternative flood protection, which of course passed. And then we did discuss some pending ordinance changes, language changes that Land Services will be bringing to the Planning Commission probably in February, if understood correctly, and then on to the county board for possible changes. Also last Friday, attended virtually the Highway 23 Coalition Projects Committee meeting. Basically, it was a review of the coalition's projects and priorities that exist today. There's also some discussion, hopefully, of trying to get a subcommittee in place that would pursue the possible 4-lane study from Foley to Malacca. And so I think those of us that are involved in that will be hearing more of that coming up here. And again, I want to call out Commissioner Persky. He's been helpful from Stearns County in pushing that. He sees the big picture, and so that's a real good thing
So-
to have there for us.
Commissioner Johnson, if they push that committee, would you make sure you reach out to a Mille Lacs County Commissioner, because
Absolutely. We've been in touch with the Malacca, I believe, the city administrator,
okay,
and also their highway engineer.
and I know their highway engineer is relatively new, so he
Right.
probably has.
And the important part about that is, of course, is the Benton County line is the start of District 7E
Oh, yeah,
or 7W. So one of the pluses potentially is that we can get into some other funding from 7E, not just the 7W.
okay,
Is kind of the thought process. Listening to these people who, of course, have been on this coalition a lot longer than I have, they talked about doing, this study for 2 years. It could potentially be 12 to 15 years down the road before that even happens, if it
Right.
happens. In my mind, one of the things that may hurt that a little bit is the dollars that are being spent this coming year, fixing 23 to Malacca.
correct,
But this,
that's
of
been-
course, the 4-lane thing would be a long-term.
right, but that's been downgraded, it's not gonna be like a 20-year fix, it's only gonna be a 10-year fix at this
Exactly,
point.
and so that's what I think the big push now is to get the feasibility study done and
Yeah.
hopefully to get MinDOT on
And,
board.
and that was part of this board's recommendation, we had a good handle on that to make sure that they didn't do a 20-year fix on that road.
Right, and Jake was on that, meeting too, and he
Right.
reminded everybody of that, so
Okay.
that was good. So that's all I have, thank you.
Next. Beth?
Okay. I had the RSVP Advisory Council, and they've done a few staff changes. Working with, getting more volunteers to help out with their programs. And they're doing the Martin Luther King Day event where they're giving out some little treats and seeing if people, and some information about contacting them if they are willing to be volunteers. And they're moving out into Sauk Center and Monticello areas. They're working with gatekeeper training with vets and suicide prevention. Doing different workshops to increase their workforce. And I gave you the newsletter last week. I went to the Minden Township monthly meeting. And they're working on their ARPA and getting assessors for, we're gonna assess the ag and the properties for this next year. And then they had a problem with one place where somebody was parking a vehicle that was getting in the way of their plowing, so we're gonna have to address that. Working on their spring road project and out by the Wapakata Village. There's some water drainage that's needed out there. And I'll let you handle the criminal justice and career solutions.
Is that all you have?
Yeah, other than the two we had.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. You done?
for those.
That's fine. You done?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, then I'll just keep going here.
Okay,
So yes, I had the Community Adult Mental Health Initiative, and I'm just the alternate. And Sandy is the representative, and basically, they just went through their budget for the year and upcoming year. I don't have a lot of input in that because I'm just the alternate. Criminal justice, they're working on the CAT team. They have 6 to 8 people involved in it. Progress is going really slow. Jail update, I believe it was 31, correct, Commissioner Schlangen? 31 in the jail, 8 of them are housed out. We're housing out, we've got 10 work release people that are housed out in Mille Lacs County. And they're having issues between us and Mille Lacs County with documentation and everything. That was the biggest thing I got out of that,
okay.
is documentation of how to keep track of all of these 10 work release out of Mille Lacs versus not being in-house here. And then the good thing with the court updates is that there's no backlog right now. They got all caught up.
Well,
So that was a good thing, you know, and Zoom's going really well so far, you know. Questions on that, Commissioner Pop?
No, but, I was out at, the one water, one plan.
Yeah.
And I understand that Benton County and Mille Lacs County had a meeting with the sheriffs.
Yes, and they did not talk about that. Troy didn't talk about that meeting.
Oh, I didn't, okay.
No.
I don't know what the discussion was, Commissioner Reynolds didn't really, we didn't have time to discuss it, so.
Right, and that could have been from my understanding, that probably could have been of, what we're housing out there.
Okay,
I would assume that's probably what it was about, but I don't know, cause Troy didn't, say anything about that. Career solutions, basically, in a nutshell, we indeed don't get along, and we never will. We got some serious issues with deed. So we have to put in a local plan and a regional plan, and I'm on the regional committee too. And after they get the plan, they've got 90 days to act on it, and after 90 days, the plan's approved. The plan apparently isn't approved, even though it was after 90 days. They point blank said that we've got to resubmit everything again.
deed did?
Deed,
Okay.
yeah. Not a good thing going there. We also, Discovery Days, CDL, welding, healthcare, and construction, they're adding in more programs so more people can get involved in some of that stuff. Very good programs, very good programs. Let's see, what else did I have? Other than sitting on the Central Care web, that's all I have.
Okay.
I'll go. We had a couple broadband meetings, one with the townships on the 6th. That went very well. The townships are really, in my opinion, getting involved in this and actually giving input. So we went over the final, well, that was on the second meeting. Well, we went over ARPA money, and there was some changes to what townships can use for ARPA money that'll come into play on this, which is probably negative, but it's good for the townships, you know, nevertheless. So we've always said we're not here to take their money, and this is proof. But what was really good is a lot of townships spoke up and said, we still see broadband as a major need, just as long, you know, along with our roads and everything like that. So that was positive that came out of that. I think we reiterated that keeping our foot on the pedal on this one was the right thing to do for broadband, and make sure we keep all the townships involved and have their voice in it. Then we had a actual committee meeting, broadband committee meeting, where we discussed the Foley to St. Cloud fiber and taking and bidding out the fiber so we could actually acquire that. That is actually out. Matter of fact, while we were in this meeting, I had 2 questions from a couple of the people bidding it. So that is out there, and that, I believe that's due on the 2nd, I believe, Monty.
I think that's right.
It's roughly 2 weeks from publication date.
Yeah, I think it's due February 2nd, so we'll be bringing that back to you guys. We also did go over our full survey from Finley Group, which was definitely kind of what we all thought. So, I mean, the broadband is a major need. The report also basically states that our providers will be very happy with the response that the public is giving and their take rate, basically, people wanting additional broadband.
Commissioner Kapinski?
Yep.
So broadband was brought up too in our career solutions because of everybody we're helping out have very little broadband. Indeed is saying that they have no issues with that because their model is based out of the metro area, you know, and they just don't understand that.
Maybe that's why you gotta resubmit, maybe they lost it or something in the broadband pipe.
Yeah, so,
I heard one place was talking about upgrading the ones that already have it and then working on the ones that don't have it later.
Ooh.
Is that
Well,
what they were pushing at?
that doesn't even, they gotta be under a certain amount, and that amount actually got switched too. But that would not qualify for ARPA dollars. It went up, yeah. It's 100 by
Was it 50 or
23 or something like that.
some goofy?
It was, I'll have to look, and I wasn't prepared for that one, but yeah, the standards went up, so.
So are they gonna work on the ones that don't have first, or is it going the other direction?
Whatever, we are gonna work on the ones that don't have it first. Other than that, I don't know what other counties are gonna be doing, but I know that we're gonna really go to the unserved and underserved first. And really, that's pretty much all we're gonna be hitting with the funds that we got. There's a lot of grants out there, and I think, what was the guy from Finn? Doug Dawson from Finley. He said that, if there was ever a slam dunk for grants, we would be it.
Yeah.
Because of where we sit, how far ahead of the process we
And I
are.
really?
was just gonna say, Commissioner Heinen, if I could, it's a
Yep.
shout out to Commissioner Kapinski and Monty, because according to Finley, we are way out ahead of where everybody else is at. So that's hats off to them, because they've established that leadership on this broadband committee, and it's nice to hear an outside party say, hey, you guys are way out
Way up there.
in front.
Yep.
And so that's pretty helpful and encouraging, and it should be encouraging to the full board to hear that.
Well, I thank you for that, but I think it starts from the past boards, because everybody had this vision,
Sure.
but they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And then another shout out to the city of Foley for the fiber coming from St. Cloud to Foley. I think they were a big part of that. You know, Commissioner Johnson, you've been on the committee the whole time too, so thank you. So I think we're in a very good shape to subsidize other monies or bring in other monies to help with this. So I think Benton County's in a great shape to have broadband countywide within a few years.
that was my next question, Commissioner Kapinski. So when we're going through this process and going through this process, apparently there's more grants that'll be available that we could be applying for,
Correct.
going through this process that would
Yep.
help too?
Yep, and we're in the process of getting a contract, Monty.
Yes, that'll be coming to you soon. An amendment with Finley to do additional, if you wanna elaborate, certainly additional work.
Yep, so with the dialogue with Finley Group, Basically, they do this all the time, and they put a not to exceed number out there to help us facilitate all of this with contracts and going and doing grants. Like anybody knows, grant writing is an art, and the better you can do it, the better chance you got to get approved. So I fully believe that engaging Finley on this would garner us more funds in the future to accomplish this instead of using all of our ARPA money.
Right, and we've made the commitment to go after every grant dollar we possibly can. We're not just gonna sit around and,
Yep.
oh, we got ARPA, so we're good to go. That's not the intent.
Yep, and which we gotta, it's hard for us as a committee to pull back a little bit because these grants, are gonna take, the year to get.
Yeah.
But it doesn't pay to forge forward with the county money, our ARPA money, to do all this. If we can get additional funds to help support it and then use our ARPA money for other things needed down the road. So,
So I'm assuming that we can't use our ARPA money, and then when the grants come in, we can get reimbursed?
no, believe me, that question was asked. Yep, yeah, that one was asked, so no, we can't use that.
Well, your guys are doing a great job, and just keep moving forward fast.
And
Let's
you
get
hear
this-
from some of the committees that, I mean, the county is really looking good from some of these township people about, boy, you really sent the right two people and all this other stuff on this broadband stuff, so that makes us look even better. And I guess I'm a little surprised that some of the townships, and they probably all won't, that are still committed to it, even after their money is pretty much do with what you want with it right
Yep.
now.
Right.
Yep, and we gotta come up with a formula for the February 17th meeting based off what Finley comes. They're actually gonna break down each township on how many unserved and underserved houses are in each township.
Very important to the township board.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Puts it right in front of them.
Exactly.
So,
So they're seeing the need too, then, that this is.
Well,
this
and
is
they'll
a
really
good
see
thing.
the need when you put the number in front of them.
Right.
Correct.
Now, we're just talking about the need right
Right.
now.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Here, Maywood, you've got X number of homes and,
So-
And a very good, sorry to
Go
jump
ahead.
in, a very good point is to all the Benton County residents out there. Because this study this survey that Finley did, both with postcards that we sent out here and then as the online study Finley did, it was overwhelmingly completed by our citizens out there, to the point where he made it seem this was kind of like unprecedented that we had that much of a response.
really.
he was very surprised.
Yep.
I guess my next question would be for Monty. Do you think it'll come down to the point where they're gonna give the counties more authority with the ARPA money on how we see
That
fit?
same provision affecting townships also affects us.
Oh, it does.
So
Up to
we
10
could
million.
take the standard allowance on revenue loss of $10 million, essentially, we could use all of our ARP funds for any
Yep.
legitimate public purpose.
Okay,
So again, it's a $10 million standard allowance for revenue loss.
okay, so we fall under that.
We received about 8 million, so
Right.
we could take the same standard allowance.
Okay, at some point in time, do we wanna, as a board, look at how much money we wanna put towards broadband of this $8 million?
I think that would be,
Goal
that would be a good goal setting.
Yeah.
Goals.
Reading my mind, Commissioner
Okay.
Johnson. I think with everything that's happened with COVID and what's keep going on is another driving point, especially with the schools and everything
Yeah.
too. So kudos to everybody in the county.
Yep.
For reaching out and doing those
And
surveys.
Commissioner Heinen, I'm glad you brought that up because the schools have stayed involved. Soccer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Both superintendents are in on this committee and
Really?
attend regularly, and so there's input and they're very aware of what's going on.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long discussion.
That's okay.
Sorry, I'll move on. I'll be a little
Oh, it was
quicker
great
now.
discussion.
You're not done
though.
yet?
I got two more. I got Micah. We were virtually yet on that. A couple key items they hit there, the sheriff and attorney. Sheriffs and attorneys have requested that to legislation that if somebody vacates that position, they can appoint versus having a special election. So that's in there. They're trying to get approval on that. There was some wording proposed to legislature about remote joining of meetings in case of medical. So there's some proposed wording into the legislature on that. Whether that passes or not, we'll have to wait and see. The ARPA guideline, or let's see here, the para. Para is very, with the year that everybody had last year in investments, it's getting very close, and entities have been paying in extra payments to get caught up. And once that's caught up, those additionals will stop.
Is that running, is it gonna be sustainable? You know, for years and years. we've
They
heard
claim
was
it
gonna
will be.
They claim it will be.
Yep, and that is great news for
Yeah,
all
no
these
kidding.
pensions.
Yep.
It's great.
Boy, we heard for years that it was unsustainable.
Yep.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Kapinski, oh, excuse
Go
me.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jared, for getting on. I know one part of Todd County that does not have good broadband service, so I was in Long Prairie going to Sauk Center, and I was getting pulled off into a so-called small gravel pit, and I was gonna get online, and there was no way I could get online for that MICA meeting. So when I see the Todd County Commissioner tonight, I'm gonna tell him that your broadband really, and that's on 71 going,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow,
going south.
yeah.
Just to clarify, so when you talk about a medical, are you saying like for a county board member, for example, if they're out sick, they can join a meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
One of the things that they did say is it may not apply to actual board meetings,
Okay.
but it may apply to committee meetings and stuff like that.
Okay.
And also on the committees I sit on, there's a lot of people that are going for at least 50% of them to be virtual.
Sure.
Because of the attendance has been out of the roof basically on they've never had such great attendance. Matter of fact, it was brought up in the APO meeting too. Joe brought it up and said that the people showing up on virtually was just amazing.
I think it's gonna be a good tool moving forward, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah. One thing with the APO meeting I had was, there was a lot of beltline talk. The northwest beltline we had to table that, just because there were some issues going through the St. Joe area, through their business parks. So that was tabled. Another thing that was brought up is, with all this transportation funds coming in, the state of Minnesota is looking at redoing how they allocate these transportation funds. And one of the things that's happened is you know, a lot of it goes to downtown Minneapolis and Minneapolis-St. Paul, and then you got your call counties, which are just on the rings. So Sherburne County wasn't exactly in favor of this at one point, but they did vote for it. What we're proposing is doing a letter of support to say, listen, it should go, 50%, 25, 25. And even though 25% for greater Minnesota doesn't seem like a lot, it'll be a very big dollar amount, and it'll be a huge change from what it was. So, that's where that's at. Other than that, that's all I got.
Really, that's it? All right.
Sorry.
I just had a couple of things. We had a meeting in Malacca for the Rum River One Water, One Plan. The public commenting period was over, and we had a public hearing that night. We actually had people online and a couple show up in person that give a report, that for or against or whatever it was. I thought it went quite well. One thing that happened is we had the Mille Lacs band has joined now. They got he seems like a real interested person now. Before it was like we couldn't get any conversation out of them. So I think the chair and a couple other people are going to try to bring them up to speed on what's available and what's in that, so that when we finally do take the vote next month to approve the plan, that they will be ready to go. I think the process worked pretty well. Everything is up in speed. One thing that came forward that I didn't realize is that we're gonna have to have some kind of a committee or a powers agreement, because we're a joint entity group that's gonna allocate this money somehow. And it just can't go to it can't go to Jerry Machi or some of them, because there's people that are more aggressive and they want more, and that's how it will work. If you got a really good SWCD and they really go after some of this, they'll probably get more. If you're a very lax or whatever, you probably won't get as much. So they want to do that, and I would think that this is gonna be, it's probably only gonna be a couple meetings a year, but you're gonna have to have somebody representing that as we go forward with the other two. And then last Monday, we had an AIS meeting in Rice, and the Lake Association is going after some of the funds for AIS. They want to purchase a combine to do curly pond leaf weed. They had all the statistics. They got some things they need, the machine and the trailer, and then a dump trailer to haul it so they can dry it out someplace. And then it'll be taken by St. Cloud State down there, and they're gonna pelletize it and use it for burning in their bioenergy deal. It's kind of like a pilot program from what I understand. But they're gonna be coming after about $106,000, I think. And the committee's okay with that because we keep adding this. The part we did not agree to is they wanted to go out a couple of years, and the operational expense of, I don't know what it was, 9,000 plus, give or take. And we said we can do 1 year, but we're not gonna do, because we may have programs come forward to grab some of that 30+ thousand that we get every year. And it looks like that money is gonna be ongoing from AIS, from the state, for quite some time. I
Mr.
don't
Chair.
think they're gonna cut that.
Sorry, you have a question.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Pop, do you know the balance in aquatic invasive species?
I think it's like 170,000.
Okay, so, and you said 106 of it towards the combine, and then plus a year's
That's the
worth.
combine, the trailer, and the dump wagon.
And then a year's worth.
Then I think that actually includes the first year of operation.
And then you would do an additional year?
No, we won't, they have to come back next year,
Okay,
because otherwise we're committing ourselves to,
sure.
they would probably prefer that we commit ourselves to 5 years or something, but, they gotta, and there is a match that the Lake Association's gonna have. They're actually gonna have to go to the bank and borrow the money to buy this equipment and then come for reimbursement through the solid waste advisory.
Are they looking at any other lake associations to join in?
Well, what I understand, and that's just what I understand, is that the time frame doesn't allow you to probably share these. It's it's very slow, what I understand. The number of hours, I can't remember what they estimated it would take to do Little Rock, and probably, they'll have it available for Mayhew Lake.
Because I know they do that, they've been doing that program on Rush and Briggs
Oh, yeah.
chain for quite a while,
They've
actually.
been looking really closely with Clearwater. They've been working with them. They've done it this year. And I was telling them that I actually was down in that area, and there was this machine out in the lake, and it was going like a turtle, to get this done.
Yeah.
And here it was, one of them, I don't know, aquatic combines, they call it, that pulls the curly leaf pond leaf out.
Interesting.
So I think in February they'll be bringing that before us for approval, because it's a large amount and has to be approved by the county board. And that was all that I had.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I got one more oversight that I had. And I gotta thank Chris Bird for bringing and doing all of the gathering or putting together all the documents for the fiber bid. Thank you very much for that, Chris. You guys, without you, it wouldn't have got out in that short a time frame. I can tell you that.
Okay. Next, commissioner concerns. Is there anything else under commissioner concerns? Any commissioners? Okay, next, set committee of a whole. I see, Monty, you have something underneath this?
Yeah, Johanna's here. Let's start with one that's not on your list. It's time for the twice yearly employee recognition for years of service. So typically those happen before board meetings in the morning. We want to suggest either February 15th or March 1st. Also, another consideration is going to be, well, do we do this all virtually or do we do in person? And that's why I invited Johanna. Do you have any thoughts, person, virtual, and also the board too?
I would assume everyone is gonna wanna be virtual because it's easy and convenient without,
Well, I know in the past we've done a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah.
You got folks who are working from home, so I think it's assumed we would at least do a hybrid.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd agree with the hybrid. My other thought is we wait till March 1st to get through hopefully our current conditions.
oh, sure.
And,
Good call.
do the
Perhaps
8
then we'd
o'clock.
assume that it'd be March 1st in person, And the usual routine is we begin at 7 AM out at over at the sheriff's office and then
Yep.
go to highway.
Yeah, the last time we actually did the or the highway department
First?
virtually, we did them first, but virtually. We
Oh.
didn't actually go out there just
Right.
again
Oh.
with we're trying to not have the commissioners going to each of the locations right now because of COVID
Right.
Yeah.
situations, but it's
That's-
really up to you guys.
That's why we want to go to March 1st, in case we don't have to worry about masks anymore.
So I would say for the time being, let's set it, it's assume it'd be in person, but also a hybrid option.
Yeah.
So we usually end up here, and any folks that want to be with us virtually can be here for the end. And otherwise, it'd be in person in sheriff's office and highway.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can go back to that.
So 7 AM, March 1st. That seems kind of early, 7
Well, we
AM?
go over to the sheriff's office because their shift changes.
Oh, that's
at
why it's
7,
7,
so that's
okay.
why we do it at 6. So there's
Okay.
a little bit of time in there, but.
7
Coffee
AM,
and
March
donuts.
1st, starting out at the sheriff's office. Okay.
And then the people that are gonna be presented the awards would be in person.
If they wish to,
If
yes.
they wish.
It
Yes.
could be both.
Yep.
But again, the only place we can really do the hybrid option is here. So it could be someone from the sheriff's office or highway who can't be there in person, doesn't want to be. We would then recognize them here in the boardroom at the end.
At 8:30.
Yeah, that's kind of
Yep.
catch-all then for everyone else
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Johan. Moving back up the top of the list, setting a 2022 goal setting meeting. Usually we set aside a couple hours.
Yep.
Like 10 to noon, something like that.
Last year we did it in March, if I recall.
Yeah, I don't recall why it went so late. It may have been just the addition of new board members. I don't really recall, but it could certainly be earlier if you wish to.
You have some potential dates you're thinking of, Monty?
You know, I really don't. I just would ask you to avoid mid-February from February 15th through the 23rd. That week right there, and that straddles President's Day weekend. Otherwise, I'm fine.
We did it March 4th last year.
Right.
So it could be certainly could be February if you wish to.
That first week in March is AMC legislative.
Yeah, and I will be gone the 2nd through the 5th in March.
I will be gone let's see here, the
I-
23rd through the 2nd of
I
April.
believe the AMC legislative is.
Is the
March-
first week.
Yeah, that first week, March 2nd to the 3rd.
Yep, 2nd and 3rd.
What are your thoughts on Tuesday, the 8th? Or is that when you said you're gone? Sorry.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just gone 2nd through the 5th.
And Jared, the end of February for you? You're gone?
End of March.
March, okay. What about Tuesday, March 8th?
That'd work for me.
Works for me.
Tuesday, March 8th. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, is that township annual meetings?
It
I
is.
believe. But that doesn't include
They're in the
us.
evening though, typically,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Well, not really.
Not all, but,
Alberta's usually at 1 o'clock.
well, I'm thinking again, we would go 10 to noon probably.
10 to noonish, yeah.
That'll work out, because then if,
You're right
you
there.
know, I know Amanda wants to go there again they're a non-participant,
Sure,
so,
BEP.
yeah, BEP.
So Tuesday, the 8th then, from 10 to noon, and I know last year we talked about switching it up. I'm all in favor for Jack and Jim's, but I know some of the members wanted to move it around, so.
We've been Jack and Jim's and Jimmy's Poorhouse.
Okay.
Have been the two locations we've used.
Correct, yeah.
Whatever works for you all.
What's your thoughts?
I have no preference.
Wasn't that back room closed at one point at Jimmy's?
It was.
Maybe I can check and see.
That was an issue at one point. I remember they were not allowing groups to
Yeah.
use it. Yeah.
I can ask Dina if
I would imagine at this
Uh,
point
the
they're
rules.
allowing it.
Correct. So last time I was there recently, people were using that back room
Okay.
too,
Yeah.
you know, but.
You wanna do Jimmy's or?
Commissioner Kapinski can check and let somebody know.
I'd be happy to. So at this point, you want to go with Jimmy's?
let's do Jimmy's in case,
Okay.
if we can't do something, I say we revert back to,
Jack and Jim's.
Jack.
Okay.
And then you'll check
Gotcha.
on that for us,
Yep.
Commissioner Kapinski? Okay.
So March 8th, 10 a.m., Jimmy's. Okay. The next one is the township officers meeting, and I'm sorry, that should say 7 PM rather than 7:30, excuse me.
On the
February 17th, Minden Town Hall, 7 PM. That's the first
Just-
time I can remember this being at Minden Town Hall.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware, I'm gone for that.
And I will be gone as well.
You'll have a write-out for us anyway, Monty?
You betcha.
What was the date in February?
February 17th at 7 PM, Minden Town Hall. And I know Amanda has agreed to present the Finley Engineering information on each township.
Okay.
She said she could do that for us.
Yeah, we'll have Amanda and Commissioner Gopinski do broadband.
Excellent idea.
I'm not gonna flub that one out.
Okay, and then the last one we have is the AMC Ledge Conference, March 2nd through the 3rd, Intercontinental Hotel in St. Paul. This is kind of a hold the date kind of thing. We don't have registration information yet. Is it possible, though, we could survey you all today and find out who plans to attend, and then when it becomes available, we could get you registered?
I will not be there.
That's a no, okay.
I'll be with my
Going around.
son-in-law.
Oh,
I'll be there.
Family.
Mr. Pop is a guest.
Is planning a convention at that
Is a
time
guest?
too.
Excuse me?
Transportation Alliance, I think, is planning a convention around that time too,
Okay.
like the 28th through the 2nd, I think.
This is the 2nd through the 4th.
Okay. So Commissioner Johnson, are you?
At this point, I will be there.
You're a yes, okay. And then how about Commissioner
Yeah.
Schlangen? You're a yes too. Okay, so other than Commissioner Schlangen, everyone else. So we'll be in touch regarding any
Yeah.
hotel.
they're probably waiting to see if this is gonna really happen, is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. There's a, on Friday, their meeting, the state board meeting is on Friday, so I'm sure that's gonna be the discussion of topic.
Whether or not it's gonna be virtual or in person, yeah. I can
You know,
see-
the House is, or the Senate is not there anyway,
Yeah,
so I don't know what they're, I've heard different plans, but nothing concrete.
okay. So again, as we see information, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
And that is all we have.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move ahead with setting these committee of the holes as been presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. With that,
Motion to adjourn.